Welcome, everybody, to the Sheeple is as Sheeple does channel. This is one of the more surreal stories you will see, and I probably have said that pretty often. But a new Tennessee law is taking away driving privileges from minors who are guilty of bullying. And let me repeat that. If you bully somebody, you can define it however you want. You call somebody fat, is that not bullying? If you call somebody stupid, is that not bullying? That's the point we're at. Of course, we all know they started these hate crime laws really to protect one specific group of people. Well, maybe two. And they've taken some of the greatest words out of the English vocabulary because of people's feelings. And as they make people weaker and weaker, these types of laws are going to become the new norm. These are going to become the things that they do to force behavioral change. Like Larry Fink and all these big corporation heads say, they want to force behavioral control. So what are they going to do? We're apparently going to allow our own government of supposed elected officials, but we all know that they're not, to tell us what we can and cannot say, and on top of that, punish us for it. Now, we know what's eventually coming. You will be put in prison for some of the things that you actually say. Forget sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We've trained a society of weak sheeple. And because we've trained a society of weak sheeple, we have people who actually agree, including Fox News, as I'll show you, and the conservative media, that this is something that's needed. So just imagine in the heat of the moment, just imagine you just don't like somebody, which you have every right to not like somebody, and you say something and some word slips out. Well, guess what? You might lose your license for longer than somebody who has a DUI. That's right. Somebody who drives under the influence of alcohol is likely to get a slap on the wrist compared to what the punishment is going to be for a minor who bullies. Here are some of the news clips circulating around, and keep in mind how Fox News is fully on board with this. They are convincing the conservatives that hate speech is real, that hate speech needs to be implemented. All these kids and what happens to the children, right, playing on people's heartstrings instead of saying, hey, how come when the rest of us were kids and we got bullied, we handled things by bullying back, sticking up for ourselves. Oh, boy. Well, in a communist society, you're not supposed to stick up for yourself. Don't you know? In a communist society, which is exactly what the Democrats and the conservatives are building, it's dual communism. In a communist society, you run to Big Brother, you tattle on them. And then Big Brother comes in and says, you know what? You're not allowed to drive. We don't care if you can't get to work for a year. We don't care if you can't get to school for a year, even though it's an indoctrination camp. You're going to be punished for words. And if we take food out of your mouth, we don't care, because the worst and harshest thing in society is words now. And of course, we know all of this is to protect certain groups of people, and it's obviously very important for them to protect themselves. So when people like me speak out against Big Brother, well, that's the next hate speech. We know where this is headed. It starts with laws against minors in the state of Tennessee, and it ends up with laws against us speaking online. Well, did you know that this guy talked about how the government, let's say, was modifying the weather, and they had all these documents and patents about weather modification? Well, some guy heard his channel, and then he went and did something called the false flag and carried something out, even though, it would never actually occur, and then I'd get blamed for it, right? And they'd say, well, that's hate speech. That's speech that entices violence. That's what we're headed towards because we're allowing this to happen. Look at this insanity.
Several new laws go into effect starting tomorrow, one taking aim at bullies.
Yeah, teens will now face harsher punishments if they're involved in bullying, including losing a major privilege. Our Lexi Lepoff taking a deeper look into what this could mean for your kids. And Lexi, teens could lose the right to drive.
Yeah, Casey and Ted, this new law strengthens the punishment for a minor involved in bullying. Now teens could lose their driving license for a full year. The East Tennessee representative behind the law says it was a penalty needed for kids to take bullying seriously.
This right here just adds to that to hopefully prevent tragic events.
East Tennessee State Representative Lowell Russell is leading the charge to strengthen punishments against teen bullies. Now minors involved in bullying or cyberbullying could lose driving privileges or their ability to get their license up to a full year.
I thought that the driver's license piece would be pretty important to get their attention. And we'll just see how it works in the future.
The law has exceptions to allow teens with a suspended license to still be able to go to work, school, or church, but it restricts travel to social events or extracurricular activities.
I think it's great that the state is stepping up to try to do something about bullying.
Scott Payne with Contact Careline says he thinks the law is a good thing, but hopes it is just a starting point to address bullies beyond just a punishment.
I would like to see going forward a movement towards working with the bullies. You know, bullies aren't just born, they just don't pop up. They're products of their environment. And so we need to be talking with them and finding out what's going on in their lives that's bringing about this type of behavior from them.
Russell says he agrees more can be done. He says a potential next step could be allowing someone with a restricted license to drive to counseling sessions, helping prevent further bullying.
I certainly hope it's a move that helps people seek help. Seeking help is a strength, not a weakness.
Now, both the Contact Careline and Representative Russell stress the need to not bottle up feelings and reach out if you need help. Now, 988, which is the Contact Careline, it's free and anonymous to text and call.
All right, Lexi, thanks.
Big story in Tennessee. State lawmakers there just passed a new law to crack down on teenage bullying, and it comes with an interesting penalty. Now, any minor found guilty of bullying or cyberbullying in Tennessee juvenile court will lose their driving privileges for 1 year. The law passed Tennessee's legislature with bipartisan support. You are a big fan of this.
I am a fan of this because we've done so many stories where it leads to suicide. Bullying can lead to suicide, and this includes cyberbullying. And I'm sure they'd have to prove it goes to the extreme because we all like freedom of speech. But yet, if it's harassing someone, if it's putting someone at risk and their life in danger, then I'm all in favor of this. I think it holds people accountable, and these teenagers need to know you can't do this. You're going to lose your privilege to drive. And that's a big deal for teenagers.
Yeah, it is.
For
it's
us,
a hinge point in their lives.
For New Yorkers, we take a taxi. But
Well, in Jersey, we just drive fast. Some of us, not everybody. Paul?
So, I know I don't drive fast. I don't even own a car. So anyway, I think a couple of things to tease out here. First of all, the law exists already. This is just an added penalty, and you have to be of driving age, right? But they actually have this for younger ages as well who can't drive yet. So the metric becomes what happens when, by the way, Tennessee doesn't have a minimum age for criminal responsibility. So if you're 12 years old, you're getting charged with an A misdemeanor. That could be life-changing.
Wow.
I just hope that it's applied with, judiciously.
Right.
Also, here's another way I hope it's applied. This is a red state passed this, Tennessee, so more power to them because I agree, Ainsley, this kind of thing that's long overdue considering the impact of bullying. What happens if we get teachers bullying students, let's say, on trans issues and things like that? Because that is bullying. We've seen all kinds of cases like that. I bet you we get a case where the parents say, my kid's being bullied into a curriculum he or she doesn't want. Now, we've had that big SCOTUS decision. It'll take a while for that thing to devolve down. So this thing is going to have to get used. They're going to have to bang it up a little bit to get it working. But it doesn't say it's got to be student on student.
Well, that's fascinating. Nicole?
You know, when I first read this headline, I was like, whoa, 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 this is an overreach of the state. I mean, it's taking away basic accountability of the parents and the schools and disciplining children. But then when you actually read into it and you realize that this is for kids who've been found guilty of bullying or cyberbullying, obviously it's a greater crime. I became for it, kind of to Ainsley's point, to the sense that driving for this age group is a big deal. Because right now what happens, maybe they get incarcerated, but most often it's pay a fine and do community service. Well, that community service, if their record gets expunged, when they go to college, the community service is on they get to put that on their application. So it's actually a benefit for them. So there isn't really a big consequence to them. So by having an additive, some sort of additional punishment, I think is the right thing to do, and you want to hit them where it hurts. But I think it goes beyond just taking away their ability to drive, because this could fuel and make bullying even worse. They can continue to bully. It doesn't change their behavior. So I think they should have some mandatory therapy and to see the consequences of their actions. We know that the internet is a dangerous place, especially for this very vulnerable population.
Yeah, this is part of Tennessee's larger effort to really stymie bullying. So this is on the heels of legislatively, they've taken active steps to define bullying better and cyberbullying. And so this is that next step. I also love that it underscores an additional point, which is that driving is a privilege. that you don't get to just drive, right? And they have carve-outs for driving to work and church and school. But I think it underscores that, number one, that kids are held to an account, right? That's the whole point. And also that there are measures that they can use that will actually hit them where it hurts. So while it might not seem like a sort of a clear nexus, I think the whole point is kids, it will resonate with kids, but I like that you emphasize that point that they were already found guilty. That's egregious. If they're in criminal court to begin with, that's
they did
egregious.
really bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, and you were talking about that. There is no minimum age.
Yeah, Tennessee doesn't have a minimum age. So, again, you'd like to think that you're not going to end up changing a 12-year-old's life who did something foolish forever, right? Because a misdemeanor is right below a felony. Serious business. So, again, it has to be applied judiciously. You'd like to think that they've marbled that into how it's going to happen. But that said, give them their due. It's a good idea for kids.
Yeah, and maybe parents would say something like what you said, Nicole. Look, we need to get you a little therapy to make sure that whatever's going on with you, you find a different way to channel it.
They need to understand the consequences to their actions.
When I was 16 and I got a couple speeding tickets and my insurance was revoked because I was under 18, guess what I did? I drove well after that. I followed the speed limits after that,
You
right?
still go fast.
Within reason.
Yeah, she's a great
It's
driver.
cyberbullying.
She drives
I wonder
fun
if they could
stuff,
say,
too.
You're not allowed to have social media. You're not allowed to have a phone.
Yeah, we're taking your
How great would that be?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what it essentially is. When we got in trouble in high school, our parents put us on restriction.
Take away what was misused.
Something that we liked was taken away.
So this new Tennessee law cracking down on bullying, hitting teens where it hurts, the driver's seat. Under the new legislation, driving privileges will be taken away from any minor found guilty of bullying or cyberbullying in juvenile court. Of course, to get cyberbullying in place and to be able to convict people of cyberbullying, you'll hear more psyops about people ending their lives because they're getting cyberbullied. They're all over the place. I just saw one about a YouTuber that had a big following, got bullied in the comment section, and then they took their own life, and even though they had a husband and a child, I mean, some of the stories that are out there are so fabricated and fake, it's unbelievable. To believe that somebody would actually do that, but of course, they'll convince everybody this is going on because that's what the news is. It's a propaganda machine. And then people will say, well, what about these people? Because we know the World Economic Forum. We know that all the United Nations, the people, the members, all they keep talking about is how they want to end anonymity on the internet.
I propose putting an end to anonymity on social media. In our countries, no one can walk the streets with a mask on their face or drive a car without a license plate. No one can send packages without showing an ID or buy a hunting weapon without giving their name. And yet, we are allowing people to roam freely on social networks without linking their profiles to a real identity. This paving the way for misinformation, hate speech, and cyber harassment, because it is facilitating the use of bots, and it is allowing people to act without being held accountable for their actions. Such an anomaly cannot continue. In a democracy, citizens have the right to privacy, not to anonymity or impunity, because with those two, social coexistence would be impossible. That is why I believe we must push forward the principle of pseudonymity as the functioning element of social media, and force all these platforms to link every user account to an European digital identity wallet. This way, citizens could use nicknames if they want, but in the case of a crime, public authorities would be able to connect those nicknames to real people and hold them responsible. Because accountability is not an obstacle to freedom of speech. It is an essential complement to it. On social media user, or it's much better to say, one social media user, one real ID. This is the only way to really ensure that minors do not access inappropriate content, that people who commit crimes are banned or prosecuted from social networks, and that the millions of fake profiles that exist and influence the public conversation are removed.
Which means ending people like me and you, right? Because they're convincing people it's a crime. You know, certain YouTubers who get thrown off platforms and then come back on the platform, that's against terms of service. Well, terms of service is like the newest, you know, they think it's like the 10 Commandments or like the Bill of Rights or, you know, the amendments, the Constitution. They're like, how could you violate that? Oh, because they have a right to decide who can say what and who can't. Isn't that technically bullying? I mean, I know you're not me, but another YouTuber I know probably feels like he's getting bullied, you know, going on 90-something, you know, times that's happened to him. Isn't that bullying? Oh, right. It's only bullying in the eyes of the beholder or, of course, the eyes of the people responsible for creating the actual bullying movement. So when we talk about cyberbullying, remember, they are going to implement digital identifications. So if you post online, you're not going to be able to have, you know, Harry Ballsack can't be your name anymore on YouTube. Harry Nuts can't be your name on Facebook. They're going to force you to use your real name. They're already doing it on YouTube. If you've noticed, there's people out there like, wait, why is my handle changed? Why is it my real name? Because they're going to force you into it. That way, you won't comment negatively on someone's channel. But guess what? This is going to just expand to such insanity when the government decides who can have speech and who can't. And certain words are just, you're going to continue to hear words taken out of the English vocabulary, just like 1984. Then you're going to go online, you're going to say, hey, I don't agree with you on somebody's video. And they're going to go, you don't agree with me? That is hateful to me. It hurt my feelings. And guess what? You could be criminalized. And people go, that's insane. That'll never happen. Of course it will. That's exactly what it's headed towards. And that's why we have to stop this from occurring. But there's so many weak human beings out there. What do they call them? Keyboard warriors, a lot of them, who sit at home and they type negative stuff. I get it all the time. I don't even blink when I get it. You know how many people tell me off myself? Somehow, you know, they send emails to the website email, and they're just, oh, you're the worst, you're a loser, you should kill. I don't even blink. I couldn't care less. It's called thick skin. It's a good thing to have. Most people need it because the world wouldn't be the mess that it is if people actually stood up for themselves, defended themselves, and grew a backbone. But we cannot have that in a communist society. So here's the quote from some of the representatives in the state who are passing this Tennessee law for bullying and taking away your license. Many times we hear about terrible events like acts of violence. We blame bullying for this, and I noticed that nothing was being done about it. I had a constituent that had a child that was bullied in school, and the school wouldn't do anything. And the totality of everything that I've been hearing, I thought it would be best to address the situation. And to my knowledge, it's the only law like this in the country, explained Lowell Russell, the 21st District Tennessee State Representative. This means a full year without a license or permit, either suspending what they already have or delaying the chance to get behind the wheel. In some cases, exceptions can be made for driving to work, school, or church. And we know that that's bullcrap, okay? Because remember in 2020, they didn't make any exceptions for anyone going to church. They didn't make any exceptions for anyone going to work. They'll just tell you that now. And as the law gets passed, you'll find out in your case that, well, you're going to church? No, you're not. You can't drive there. You got to go to work? No, you're not. You can't go there. Can the guy who has a DUI, convicted of manslaughter, be out of jail faster than you for bullying someone? Yeah, they can. Anybody finding this absurd yet? How the people don't push back against this is beyond me. And when you see Fox News convincing conservatives that this is a good thing, it shows you how weak these people are and how they don't even realize that they're in dual communism. It's Democrat communism, Republican communism. And all these people that think they're patriots are supporting this. They're supporting the government's right to dictate what bullying is. Nobody can dictate what it is because it's not defined. Anybody could say their feelings are hurt by anything. You could tell somebody they're having a bad hair day, right? Go up to somebody and they're in a windstorm. You're like, whoa, your hair. Was that bullying? It could be considered bullying because you hurt their feelings, right? You're going to lose your license. Well, we wouldn't go that far. Oh, of course not. Of course not. Cyberbullying, disagree with somebody, oh, we're going to take your license away. How we allow this to occur is absolutely absurd. So they go on to say we want them to understand what it means to be a bully and to stop the behavior. And so if you want to stop the behavior, you have to address the behavior in a sensible way, not just punish. It just doesn't work the same for every child. And you learn this as an educator and as a teacher, especially a teacher who works specifically with kids with behavioral issues. You've got to make sure that the punishment fits what they did. And there's the word again. I mean, that's the word. That's the word we need to just continue to get into people's heads. Behavioral control.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay,
we're doing the same thing.
And so it's just you have to force behaviors, and if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted, and that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities, and we're going to have to force change.
We do is we use what legal scholars call predicate-based search. So we would look at you, and then we would go out and say, oh, there's lots of different things in your life that may be indicative of someone involved in bad behavior.
Then we were asked if we were willing to supply our product philanthropically, basically for free, and I was very in favor of this because our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
And then they go, well, what does that mean? Oh, everybody should be on good behavior. Define good behavior, because to these people, good behavior is actually deviant behavior. Is it good behavior to be a sociopath? How about a psychopath? Because the people making these laws want you to behave like they behave. They want you to sit there like you did in 2020 and lock yourself in your home and get mental health issues or whatever they call it, convince people that they need to see therapists. It's like in the Fox News clip, oh, we need to get these people into therapy. They have anger issues, right? They'd say that, oh, I have an anger issue because I'm raising my voice. Get them into therapy. Another formulated thing by your government to make you think something's wrong with you instead of handling your own problems. I mean, it's one thing after the next where the government just is involved in trying to condition you and control your behavior, telling you that something's wrong with you. But they know the best answer, right? Yeah, put them on Prozac, put them on drugs. That's what they tell you. Go to the therapist. Oh, you have anger issues. Let's put you on an antidepressant so that your doc's high. You don't yell anymore. You just sit there like a robot, like someone who had a lobotomy. That's what they want. So why is nobody out there thinking about what is the behavior that they want versus what's the behavior they want to change? Well, they don't want you to disagree with government. They don't want you to question the government. They want China 2.0. That's what they want. So all this stuff with bullying and, controlling what you say has to do with you questioning the government. And when they have all this in place with cyberbullying and social credit systems, guess what? Then you'll realize, oh my goodness, I didn't like that law that they passed in that state about, say you're LGBT, okay? Even though right now it's all catered to that community, say that when they turn on you, because they will, you're going to go, wait a minute, they're banning marriage now in this state? I thought we made what? I don't agree with this. Oh, ding, ding, ding. Your bank account's frozen, right? Because whatever wave they go in, like we see with the left-right seesaw, right now, who's getting censored? Democrats and people who are not in the left-right paradigm, like myself. Conservatives are on their high horse. But for 4 years, it was all the conservatives who got censored. So all it matters is who they place in power. You're likely going to disagree with them if it's not the party you support. And then you're going to get censored. So why are we allowing this to occur? And why are we allowing laws that would actually take away the ability of someone to drive, to work, or to school, or to church, as they say? Well, is eventually, guess what? You won't be able to drive anyway. You'll be locked up like a prisoner, and then maybe an autonomous vehicle will pick you up once a month. An electric vehicle let you go 50 feet to go visit grandma on her deathbed because they want you to live like prisoners. And this is the start of it. This is going to expand, and it's going to get so out of control that the people out there who support this, do they realize how weak and pathetic they are? I mean, if you're somebody who thinks that hate speech is real, you need to go see not a therapist or a psychologist. You need to be in a padded room, and you just need to think about how weak you are and about how you've allowed the government to convince you that bullying is real. Because what? They pull on your heartstrings. They tell you stories about kids who got picked on. Well, when I was in school, Kids got picked on all the time. I got picked on. I got picked on, believe it or not. I mean, somebody like, you're the bully. Even bullies got picked on. So if I said something to somebody, they would say something back to me. And sometimes I'd turn beet red and I'd be like, all right, I guess they make a good point here. Or you take it out to the schoolyard and you handle it and you grow up to be a man. But they don't want you to grow up to be a man or a woman. They want you to pretty much grow up and be like a little Baphomet is what they want, because they don't even want you to be a man or a woman anymore. They don't want genders to exist. They want you to just be a sheeple and exist in their fake utopian society where they can control your behaviors, your movements, and how you think. This needs to stop. And for anyone out there that supports it, it's embarrassing. Humanity at this point is getting more embarrassing by the second, and we see it on a day in, day out basis when we see people agree with the mainstream media. And, they go, oh, I'm a patriot. I'm going to watch Fox News. That's the real news. You joking me? You joking me? It's dual communism. They are stripping us of our rights every single day, and they are implementing laws that are going to enslave all of us. This cyberbullying thing, remember, it's all about anonymity on the internet. You are not going to be able to post without your real name. And then they're going to try to hold you accountable. And people out there are going to be the judge and jury. They're going to go, who said that? Oh, we want your real name. I just did a recent video, removed, but I did a video where you see the comment section. Somebody said something and, go get him. We need to know who this person is and where they live. They want you doxxed. They want you on, national television getting ridiculed. Isn't that bullying? These people don't even know what behavior is because they're not even thinking. They're on autopilot. They are on full-on autopilot. They're getting programmed into enslavement. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.